So grateful for the invitation to be here. I see my mayor is here and Dr. Christian is here, and they too have been wonderful supporters and mentors to me as a young person coming up trying to learn how to walk in a leadership role. Because how many of you know that when you walk in a leadership role, particularly as an African American, you don't just represent yourself, but you represent your people. And so, when we talk about Black history, we are a group of individuals that we are rich in history. And I want you to do me a favor. Look at the person sitting beside you and just tell them dream. Dream. Oh, you gotta do a little bit better than that. Look at them and tell them dream. Dream. Now, the reason I tell you to do that is because as African Americans, as a race, we have been dreamers throughout history. We came over here to America under very adverse and challenging situations in slavery and bondage, but yet we dreamed that we would one day be free. But then once freedom came through the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 and through the 13th Amendment, then we had to deal with Jim Crow laws and dealt with inequities throughout the entire country. And so we dreamed yet again for equality. We dreamed that our kids would be able to go to schools and have the same type of resources that non-minority kids had. We dreamed that we'll be able to get housing the same way as non-minorities would get. We dreamed that we'll be able to sing in opera houses like Marian Anderson and Leontine Price. We dreamed that we can win Oscars and not be discriminated against or be belittled to just the type of roles that put us in a servitude type mindset. But as dreamers, one of the things that we have to recognize is that our kids are under tremendous attack right now. The mayor and Dr. Christian hear me tell this everywhere I go, and I make sure I make it a point to share this story because a lot of times people just do not understand the magnitude of the attack. But as a prosecutor, I'm the chief law enforcement officer for the city. And on a regular basis, I see young people that look like you, that look like me, and they're the brightest, they're the smartest, they are our future entrepreneurs, our scientists, our astronauts. There are doctors and there are lawyers and our teachers and professors and all types of professions that you can imagine. There are billionaires and millionaires. Unfortunately, when I see them, they have shackles on their feet and handcuffs on their hands. And the difference between them having a title behind their name and a number on their back is a choice. See, there's a myth. The myth is that prison is filled with the roughest, the toughest, the worst of our society. Yes, they are in prison, but the majority of inmates look like you, look like me, but they made a poor choice. One choice can take you off of the path of success and literally detour your purpose and your destiny. And so when I see these individuals, it causes much dismay and much frustration because I recognize it is really an attack because they do not understand their worth. They do not understand that not only do you represent your family and your home, but you represent a people who is rich in legacy, rich in heritage, rich in entrepreneurship, like Madam C.J. Walker, who was the first millionaire. They're rich in inventions like making the traffic light. That was an African American that did that. But they do not understand their history. And how many of you know if you don't understand your history, you're doomed to repeat it? And so when I look at the television today and I see time and time confrontations between African Americans, young African American males particularly, and law enforcement, it causes a mixture of emotions. As a law enforcement officer, I recognize that my job is to uphold the law, but I also understand that I have to keep those who refuse as law enforcement officers to do the right thing, I have to put them in check. Because how many of you know without accountability there's chaos? And so we see the dilemma between our young men in a pipeline from the school system, as we call it, the cradle to prison. We see the mixture in mindsets when it comes to how we relate to them, how we deal with them. And one of the things that I have to always say is chaos creates opportunity. In the chaos, there is opportunity. One of the things I've always felt is that this generation did not truly appreciate the struggle that our ancestors, and I'm going to kind of date myself a little bit, those who are just slightly older than me went through. In my office, if you go in my office, there is a wall. And on that wall, there are photos, big, huge poster-sized photos of civil rights icons. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks. The one that I love, hold on, before I even tell you about that one, there's a quote by Thurgood Marshall talking about building bridges and how the law should build bridges. But the photo that I'm most proud of is a photo with 3 teenagers. And they're standing against a wall, and there's a white police officer spraying them with a water hose. And I look at that photo every day to remind me I stand on the shoulders of giants. There are people who gave their lives for a little black boy in a rough neighborhood in Norview in Norfolk, Virginia, that they would never meet. There were people on that bridge in Selma, Alabama, who died and who were clubbed to death because of a little black boy coming behind them will have the right to vote. And so when I see the adversity and the challenges that our young people are having today, it is an opportunity. Because how many of you know nothing makes you want to get involved like adversity? When trouble comes your way, nothing makes you want to be involved, to be heard, to have a voice, to make a difference like adversity. And sometimes when we look at adversity, we look at it in just the negative. But I see so many opportunities. How many of you know that Freddie Gray was not the only African-American male that died in Baltimore at the hand of a police officer? Freddie Gray was just the face of it. However, it took that particular face to take a community to turn around and say, what's going on in Baltimore? It was that adversity. It was that challenge. Yes, he gave his life. But because of that, there is an opportunity now to take a look at that judicial system and say, we will not tolerate the foolishness any longer. Freddie Gray was not the first. He was just the face. When you look at Missouri and you see Michael Brown, and you see the individual that was up in New York who was selling a pack of cigarettes and he lost his life. Was he the first? Absolutely not. But he was the face. And so young people, even adults, one of the things that I have to encourage you to do is to make sure our young people know their worth. Know that they have value. Let them know that they count. Not only do they count to us, but they count to their community and to this nation. Because our children are our greatest asset. They're not the future of tomorrow. They're today. They're our greatest asset today. That's why I go into the schools on a regular basis. I go into the communities. I come to churches like this because it's my opportunity to share and encourage, to let you know that you're raising the person that may have the answer to cure to AIDS. You're raising the person that may have the cure to cancer. You're raising that next president, that next ambassador. We don't know, but how many of you know you have to nurture the gifts and the talents and the abilities that's within your young person, and tell them when the world is going to tell them no, you can't, you have to make sure you're there to say yes, you can. I had a very interesting conversation with a young lady right here who's going to law school, and I just watched her interaction with her mom, and I said, she's your biggest cheerleader, isn't she? And she said, yeah, she is, but I'm her biggest cheerleader too. And I said, but that's the way it should be. As parents, we should be our kids' biggest cheerleader. They should never have to wonder, am I supported, or am I loved, or does someone care about my future, or do anyone want to invest in who I may be? Yeah, I may be unique. Yeah, I may pluck that last reserved nerve sometimes. But kids don't do that. But even when they do that, it's my kid. I love my kid. And I understand the uniqueness of my kid. And my kid may not be perfect, but my kid got purpose. And God gave that kid to me to help push and usher that kid into their God-divine purpose. So parents, uncles, aunties, even cousins, motivate our youth. There's nothing like motivating youth to get them to see the gifts that are within themselves. When my mom, as a little kid, and I'm about to date myself, purchased a book of encyclopedias. Somebody say yes. I'm dating myself a little bit. But my mom was a single mom who grew up in generational poverty. Grandma grew up in poverty. Great-grandmother grew up in poverty. But my mom said, I want something different for my kids. So my mom went to school at night and went to Norfolk State University, got her bachelor's degree, got her master's degree on a summa cum laude level, and worked during the day. And she said, education is going to be your key. That's your way out. And so what she did is, she was struggling as a single parent, but she invested in a book of a volume of encyclopedias. And because she invested in that, I remember as a kid, 5 and 6 years old, just sitting down, picking up a volume and reading about Maine, the state of Maine, the state of Washington, the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King. I just read because it was there. And there was no such thing as spend hours on TV or on watching TV and video games. No, when you did your homework, you picked up a book. I couldn't go outside because mom was like, no, Monday through Thursday, that's school night. You stay inside and you work on those areas that you're struggling in school. I came home one day with all B's, all happy and everything, because my buddies were like, man, you did good, you did good. I got on punishment. Because mom said if your best was a B, that was acceptable. But you're a straight A student. Because see, no one knows our kids better than we do. And my mom pushed us. She said, I'm not raising a convict because I know what the streets have to offer you, son. And if you don't listen to me, you're going to have to listen to the warden later. We have to nurture the gifts in our kids. They asked the question, does Black Lives Matter? Or do Black Lives Matter? Absolutely. But we have to ask ourselves within our own race, do they matter as well? Because the odds of getting killed by a white police officer is far less than the odds of getting killed by another black male. So when we ask that question, we have to make sure that we as well are willing to stand up and fight and say, yes, they matter. Every last one of them matter, because that's somebody's child. When I go to a crime scene and I see a body and that mother comes out to the scene and finds out that their child is dead, that mother doesn't ask, is the person that killed my child white? The mother doesn't ask the person that killed my child a police officer. All that mother wants to know is, why did they kill my child? But that child's life mattered. And I've seen too many crime scenes, too many bodies. We have to stop and start it within our community and make it known. Our kids matter. Because when we do it, we force them to do it as well. We don't take anything for granted. We love our kids. We nurture our kids. We motivate our kids. We invest in our kids. We help them dream. And guess what? When they dream too small, tell them to dream bigger. We let them know there are absolutely no boundaries of where you can go. And when we do that, I think our voice will be heard even larger than what it is now. And the world will know Black lives do matter. Thank you. That's my time.